not really sure what they want to do with it. If it is maybe a carry play for Yuma, that feels kind of early in the draft to pick it up.
I'm scrambling. I'm running the numbers here. Who picked Alchemist last? What is the new idea here? Because this is an interesting way to take it, but I have not seen this in a very long time. Definitely not in a pro game, but as far as what core position it goes into, everything is besides the point now. Because I have no idea what Hokori's idea is here. Clearly, they want to pair it with something, right? You can't just pick an alchemist to have an alchemist, especially this early. But you talk about strength hero meta, maybe we see alchemists get more popular, but unless Hokori win in an absolutely dramatic fashion, this is 100% a gamble. And hey, best of one territory, right? It's where players like Vital, you have to ban out the Broodmother. You don't want to get suckered into losing versus one hero, but again, there's just no history here. This is a complete left hook from Hokori, and we'll have to see how Thunder Awaken decide to take it. But
Okay.
that's a pretty good way to take it. The Monkey King. This almost forces the Alchemist into, I want to say, not a core position, but again, this is a major gamble for Hokori.
Now, yeah, if you're gonna run the Alchemist in a support position, is it Alch at the 4, Lion at the 5, or do you run the Alchemist as a melee support with whoever your carry ends up being? I don't really know. If you run him in that position 4 role, you do still have the Unstable Concoction for the stun, whereas as a 5, maybe you get a little bit more aggressive with the poison and the right click. So it's just weird, ET. I don't know. And for Hokori to pull this out in game 3, it's risky, but if it works, they're gonna look like geniuses. But right now, that seems like a pretty big if. And now another card that we don't really see Hokori play all that often, the Bristleback, coming out for them.
Well, and hey, Hokori, they're playing the card. Whenever a team has more strength heroes than the opposing team, they tend to win card, and that's certainly what they've amassed here. But yeah, I think with the Monkey King pick from Thunder Awaken, maybe you could have teased that this was going to be a Mars mid, and then it'd be a Lion Alchemist lane going up versus the Monkey Abaddon, but that would have gotten completely washed. I don't think there's any shot there, but I is a 5 Alchemist on the table? It feels like it has to be, because I almost assume that this has to be a Lion Mars lane to go versus the Monkey Abaddon, just because nothing else really should be able to stand up to it. At the same time, then you've got an Alchemist Bristleback safe lane, and then we're still looking for a mid laner here, a mid laner that Thunder Awaken don't even think is on the table, because they're still looking at carries, saying possibly that this is going to be an Alchemist mid versus your Storm Spirit. I just can't imagine that Hokori are going to stick the Alch versus the Monkey, though. I think that was a really nice pick from Thunder Awaken, just as another forcing move here. But now, what do Hokori actually pick up? Because the Bristleback, he's going to need a lot of farm. He still has that incredibly strong Hood Aghanim Scepter timing, one that, well, the Storm's not really going to care about, but everybody else on Thunder Awaken surely is. I just don't know how you really round this one out. They're a little bit all in here on the Mars Arena. They really have no team fight. They're more or less going to be stuffed around the Bristleback, who's going to be sneezing on everyone and hoping that they have enough damage. Meanwhile, for Thunder Awaken, I think that very simply just look for another Sacred hero here. I think the Slaughter Band, really smart from Hokori. I think that would have rounded them out nicely, but LC is still available if they want to go for that. I don't think we're going to see the Tidehunter anymore. LC is probably the best pick that I can think of, just in terms of its relative strength and still staying in that same lane as having that heal just to back up the rest of your teammates. But if they really needed to, and if they were scared of maybe a Medusa pick or something crazy coming out from Yuma, you pick Brewmaster.
Whoa.
No, they pick Slark. Okay, everything's weird now. Okay.
So I would assume that you have to put that in the hands of Bakaz. That should move the Monkey King either to the offlane or straight up into a support position, and maybe they bring the core Abba back into play. But yeah, that Slark pick really changes everything about what we thought these matchups were going to be.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it could be a Sacred Abaddon followed by a Matthew Monkey King, and then you stick Pandaboo on the Weaver, or it's a Matthew Weaver and you stick Sacred on the Monkey King, and then Sacred Monkey King actually works in this game because there are so many melee cores in all of the lanes that they don't really feel upset with any lane setup. But it really does feel like a best of one right now. It feels like everybody is just trying to counterpick the opposing team like there's no tomorrow, and honestly, I think with Hokori's first 4 picks, I'm not really feeling the strength of last pick here. I don't think they can really slam us with something that's gonna change the game. I don't think a last pick Huskar is gonna do all too much, though I feel like they're gonna pick another strength hero just because that's really where the strength of their lineup lies, is just having more HP bars than their opponents, but, that's where the Slark is entirely working against you, and of course, last time we saw the Slark be played, it didn't really work out, but this time around, where's your AoE? Who's actually hitting him? This Slark pick is way stronger than it was before.
And even if the Slark does get into trouble, you've got an Abba, regardless of position, who can be there with the Aphotic Shield to maybe even take one more bit of lockdown away from the Hokori lineup. So they're going to be hard-pressed, I think, to deal with this Slark when it comes down to those fights, but maybe this last pick shows us something. But as you said, it feels like we're at the point now, based on the other 4 heroes, this is just going to be supplemental. Oh. I don't understand anymore. Yeah, let's see who goes where. Yuma on the
Oh,
AM.
no.
It's going to be a mid-bristle, and Vitali will play Core Alchemist. They'll shift the Mars to the 5 in Gardick's hands. And on the other side, wait a second. On the other side of things, they put Sacred on the Weaver.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
scratching my head here, and of course, I mean, Saker's allowed to do whatever he wants here, and it does give you Panda Boo Abaddon, which, you know, we were talking about before, is definitely going to feel stronger. But in terms of lineup, in terms of balance, in terms of what they want to do, I really got to give it to Thunder Awaken. We need a crazy, chaotic game from Hokori. We have an offlane Alchemist laning versus a Slark, and sure, that's not too bad early on, especially when you can bully him with the Lion, but after that, like I said, this is going to be one of the craziest games of the tournament here because everything is going to work and everything's going to click for the 4 members of Hokori who can actually get active, or everything's going to fall apart. Yuma's going to be stuck with 2 items and then the game ends as his Ancient explodes. It's really just 2 paths we could go down here. Meanwhile, Thunder Awaken, they've definitely gone for the safer route, and I feel like they've honestly gotten paid off for it.
This is another classic example of your Hokori. This is a draft where there are 2 options. You look like geniuses or you look like idiots. There is no in between. So, well, for their own sake, gotta kind of hope that it's going to be the latter. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of questions asked. Good news for both sides coming into this, as we have mentioned repeatedly, is that there is no elimination on the line here. That is the beauty of the upper bracket. You have that sort of reset dropping down to lower, but if Hokori end up dropping to lower bracket off of this weird sort of draft, they've got to sort of make peace with that, because I, I really don't know, ET. This is a weird one. That Core Alchemist, I mean, I remember back when that was a thing. You ran him in the offlane, he farmed up bags for people, and you tried to run it that way. But even when it was more popular, it wasn't always effective. So, feels like Hokori are taking a rather sizable risk. We'll see if it pays off.
Yeah, and hey, 731, he moves faster while the concoction charges. Cool. And you can use the explosion to, you know, I guess farm creeps. Otherwise, it's still Alk. It's still just Alchemist. And I guess that's what I mean. It is just Alchemist. What does it actually provide for you? It's going to need to really rely on Vitaly, I think, carrying the hero. As sometimes we do talk about the hero carrying the player sometimes, but Vitaly, when it comes down to it, all of his mechanics and all of his skill, really needs to pull this one out. Meanwhile, I think Thunder Awaken are very happy with their position right now. And yet again, you get Matthew on a melee hero. I think they're very happy. Looks like they're going to split the runes. Actually, no. Yuma? It should be 3 now. Yeah, for Hokori.
All right. Good start for them, getting that extra rune. We'll see how the lanes play out here. Starting with top, because it kind of feels like this is going to be a relatively solid lane, unless this Alchemist decides to be very, very aggressive and maybe put points up into the unstable concoction first. I don't think Picaz is going to have to worry too much, and any stun they try to throw out onto him, Panda's already got the point in the Aphotic Shield, so just how far forward will Hokori be willing to play here to try and slow up the Slug?
Yeah, and that's where, okay, you can't harp too much on the lane, and as Picaz gets the range creep, which is definitely going to be a continuous struggle for Vitaly and Philiacor, but early on, they can afford to do this. It's where Acid Spray is still a incredible tool for actually making those trades happen, and if you can force Picaz to take 3 or 4 creeps, well, then you're happy with your lane as it currently stands. But the issue, of course, arises when Kaz looks at items like the boots or the Orb of Corrosion, and he's got 2 or 3 levels. Suddenly, you're not so happy with your laning situation. In addition to that, Theliacore, of course, he can move around whenever the creep wave is constantly pushed into the Slark because he can't really do very much, but he also can't really afford to sap all of this XP from his AUK. It's another situation where your 4 needs his level 6, your 3 needs his level 6, but one of them is going to get kind of caught by the wayside, and unfortunately, there's no easy solution for them.
Yeah. And you can see just now they're able to hit level 2. The Slark was able to get that a little bit faster, though, so that could be a bit of a concern for them moving forward with how they sort of manage that. Of course, if the Hokori is going to sort of shove off from this lane, there are plays he can make elsewhere on the map for sure, but not within the first couple of minutes here. But they are doing a nice job of just pulling this creep wave away from the camp. Panda, oh, I get a courier snipe here. One more hit will do it, and okay. Not a bad play there. Vitaly was already able to get some items delivered, but at least you do a little bit of economic damage there, and Panda's going to be here to try and continue contesting this pull, but Vitaly really is pulling it back. The only downside of this play, though, is that now because as long as he times things up right with the tower shots, is kind of left alone to farm.
Yeah, he's just got undisputed free farm. Of course, they do get the pullback, and Vitaly is going to take all of this XP, but whether or not Theliacore can actually time it up with, I guess, getting the bounty rune, is really not that much you can do here, except for not get denied underneath the tower, and Vitaly should be fine here. I can imagine him popping the acid spray just so he has a little bit of an easier time blast hitting, especially if Bakaza is going to do this. He is really looking to contest these range creeps, and for Theliacore, nice force support.
Just come in, be obnoxious. I do like that he has been getting the mana drain down on to the Abba, really making Panda feel the cost of his spells, because that is always something worth noting for the Abaddon. He has a very expensive spell there, and not exactly the highest mana pool in the world. So if Panda doesn't really get to throw the shield out, you don't have to worry about the damage, you don't have to worry about one of your stuns lasting all of half a second, but Panda is still looking to be annoying, to try and contest this. Vitaly, well, the good news is he doesn't have a point up in the Greevil's Greed yet, so you don't have to worry too much about that, but still don't want to let the AUK sort of run away with this. But you take a look at his last hit count, he's actually just straight up at the top right now.
Yeah, he's having a much better time than, unfortunately, Yuma in the bottom lane. He is just kind of gotten the short end of every single lane. He's not really able to lane by himself, and there's an interesting change in the actual mana break, just being that it actually slows now in a percentage of what you're missing, but it's also where Matthew is playing Monkey King 4 versus 2 melee heroes. There's not much you can do there. Dark Mago's actually... Oh, both these mid laners are so low. Oh boy. There is a Fairy Fire if Analog tries to go for this, so I don't think he will, but this is just crazy. I'm so surprised we're not seeing both fours just immediately looking at mid with their TPs, because this is something else. And
oh, the Vortex into the Remnant. Not enough damage yet, but the creeps are helping out a little bit. Oh my goodness. Still no death, but Dark Mago, he popped the wand charges, didn't use the Fairy Fire, so he does still have that, but at this point, I think we've been playing with fire for a little bit too long. They're just going to back away at this stage.
oh man, really just nerve-wracking there, but that's the only kill that Analog could ever propose onto the Storm Spirit is pre-level 6, and Dark Mago's actually going to get the advantage there, but man, this bully game, bottom, is just unbelievable. Matthew is more or less 1v2ing while Sacred just gets to solo farm. It is not fun.
Just has to blink away from that engagement. Lowest last hit count among the cores, and well, now come to an interesting question here. When this Weaver gets picked up, it is almost exclusively in that position 4 role. Now it's a core role, but not the carry, right? You're putting it in that position 3 area, so for Sacred, what exactly is the build going to look like? Right now, it doesn't seem all that different from the support version, looking for the Spirit Vessel early, but does he try to emphasize more damage as this game goes on, or is it just going to be about utility and auras for him?
It certainly is going to be about doing his own damage. I can only imagine we look for an Orchid pretty early on here, as it is just the solution for the anti-mage, but also the solution for Vitaly. If they can stack those up, then there isn't that safety net you can play around after the Manta even does get accomplished. But it's also where they got a nice kill on Theliacore top for first blood, and over to the cause no less. just makes it feel incredibly easy for him to trade. I think that's where, unfortunately, yet again, Hokori, where do they get their threat from? Where are they going to get their playmaker? Because I think in sticking this Mars on the 5, and it's something they've done many times before, everybody wants to farm those Ancients. Everybody is very passive in their game plan, and I wonder if you can actually take that route versus a team like Thunder Awaken, or if they really are going to just start running at you, again, before that level 6 timing at the 10-minute mark, and then you can't really give any play in return. As Dark Mago, does he go for this? He's got a haste, but oh my goodness.
There's a zip in. He's going to try for it. Does he have the damage? Yes, he does. Dark Mago didn't even use the haste. He gets it without the extra move speed, just sort of outplaying him with the ult there. And, well, that is sort of a bit of a downside right now with that Bristleback. You don't really get the mobility at the moment. Still very close for Dark Mago to make that play, but felt more than comfortable going for it. Gets a second kill on the board for his side, and middle lane's looking real good now for the Storm. He's got the top net worth in the game.
Yeah, he is absolutely off to a great start. No one playing in his small camp either, so he's always had that to farm. And unfortunately, when you give up a kill like that, Analog, it's going to slow up his foot a little bit, but he should be pulling these creep waves into the small camp whenever he gets the opportunity to. But unfortunately, with that kill being given away, hasn't had that just yet. He's had to actually be fairly concerned of what the Storm actually provides. And honestly, back to bottom, I think Gardic might finally be dead. They've done this play so many times, and actually Yuma.
Oh, hold on.
Uh-oh.
They need to wait. Yeah, had to wait for the shield to sort of wear off, but once it does, they're going to go all in, zipping forward. Yuma doesn't have another blink for 5. He's just dead. Dark Mago making the play mid, gets into the jungle for a little bit, then rotates bot. This is where Thunder Awaken start to get dangerous. As you mentioned, you sort of cited that 10-minute mark. We're not quite there yet. Thunder Awaken are already starting to make moves outside of their original lanes.
Yeah, and that's where, sadly, Hokori, they don't get to make moves this game. They are going to be waiting so long. Really, until Phillycore gets level 6, I can't talk about what play they're going to make. They are really stuck in their lanes, I think, with the heroes that they've had to pick. And, well, Pakaz is just running at Vitaly underneath his tower while he has the level advantage. And it's where, unfortunately, solo kills in the middle lane have effects everywhere else, because you're still stuck in these laning stages, and Gardic TP's mid to maybe get a little bit of XP because he can't really do anything for Yuma bottom. But even Yuma had to go for a full Vanguard before his purchase here, and he's maybe not even looking for the Battle Fury because Mana Break does stack with Diffusal now, but again, is this the tech or is this a misstep from Hokori? We'll have to see at the end of the game here, but this is definitely a little bit rough to watch.
Look at this. They want to force the blink. Matthew is waiting in the tree line. If they can get him to blink back and then Boundless strike him, could very well be a kill, but Yuma is not going to take that bait, and unfortunately for Thunder Awaken, Sacred isn't quite strong enough to force that with his damage output just yet, as Gardic's Spear is nice, but it doesn't lash to a tree.
Yeah, and top,
Well,
they
yeah.
get a kill on Vitaly. Yeah, every single time Dark Mago makes a TP play, and we spoke about this last time, it was, I think, Dogchamp still alive with Ray Louisa, but if you get to use your mana, your extra mana on farming the jungle back to the fountain, TP, make a play, it works. It's perfect, and he's actually used a little bit too much mana here.
Still got enough for a zip. Not a long one, but it's going to be enough. Meanwhile, down bot, Gardic's left alone. Yuma bailed out to farm the jungle, so they just go in for the 2v1, and it's not looking great for Hokori. Failed attempt in the north side jungle. Hero dead bot. Yuma now going to get sort of pushed out of the lane a little bit, and under normal circumstances, you wouldn't really think this was so bad for the AM, but now we come back to the fact that he's not going for that Battle Fury build, so this shift into the jungle is not going to really accelerate his farming, as I think Matthew, yeah, actually just spotted him out there as well, so he can afford to maybe get in there and be a little bit more annoying, too.
Yeah, he's just looking to steal, slow up, and make this anti-mage even less of a hero. It's just a huge concern for me. Not to mention that Sacred has a Spirit Vessel right now. So your Bristleback, until he gets a Lotus Orb, or I guess you could say your Alchemist gets a Lotus Orb, you don't have a Dispel. You don't have that save that we've seen so many teams desperately draft for so far in the tournament, and I still have a lot of questions. I think they might get a free kill onto the Abaddon mid, though. That's pretty.
And it gets taken down. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Sacred and Matthew, yeah, going in again, ignoring Yuma to go after Gardic, but while that happened up top, Vitaly gets jumped in on again. It's that same duo, Kaz and Dark Mako just have the lockdown and the damage, and I'm not entirely sure what the plan is for this Alchemist. He has queued up an Aghanim Scepter, so at least in theory, that's what he's going to try to do, but I'm not sure how quickly he's going to get it at this rate, especially if he keeps getting pressured up like this, and in the meantime, because he's getting some permanent agi going for himself, so Slark's Ascension ever so slightly sped up.
Again, they're making the same play onto Dark Mago. Again, big difference though is they got the tome in. Dark Mago, he had to stay for the Arcane Ring, and he dies for it. Maybe.
No, he doesn't. Panda. What a damn hero he is. Gets in there, drops the shield, and that was everything that they had. You talked about this in the draft. If you go in with the finger and you don't get it, you have to do what they just did, and that's straight up bail on the play. They can't afford to go any further after dropping everything.
Yeah, and that's your play. That's your catalyst until Gardic hits level 6, and he is, I think, stacking and trying desperately to get it. But now Hokori don't have an option. They can only flood onto towers, and that's where they are trying to make the trade top. But Thunder Awaken are still bringing the fight to them. They want to continuously run at their opponents because they know there's no business giving you this tower. And here's where the Spirit Vessel, he needs a TP out, but Matthew's already here. So
even dropping the Wukong's to make sure. Was it necessary? Maybe not, but not going to take any chances. They find themselves the kill. Good news, at least, on the side of Hokori is that Yuma was able to bail out, so he's not going to lose much gold. The problem is, his build's already kind of been forced into an awkward spot, as you mentioned with that Vanguard pickup. The Diffusal progress is really just kind of bad right now, and they might actually be losing even more if the Olacore is going to get jumped in on. They are completely ignoring an anti-mage. This is not a good sign for Hokori. He has to now blink away. It's going to free up a push onto this tier 1 tower. So really they're just playing like Yuma isn't there, and I mean at this point in the game, he basically isn't there.
Yeah, and because they killed Analog when he tried to TP out, the Bristleback struggling to get back onto the map. At the very least for Hokori, Gardic got level 6 bottom. When they dragged the Weaver out of that lane, Gardic was able to very safely farm up his levels, didn't give up a kill to Pakaz, so we do have that arena online. But unless we see something big happening... Oh, they were going to try for this with the Orchid?
They should have it. That is a big reveal. The Orchid coming into play. Gardic, you see him, he was trying to get into position, but that arena isn't going to come up fast enough, so... Well, we already talked about the AM maybe being quite a ways behind. Now he's not even just safe to farm the jungle, because with the silence and a little bit of backup, they've got the damage to pick him off.
Yeah, and that really is the problem, because you look afterwards, right? 4 heroes dive in onto an anti-mage, get the kill with the Orchid reveal, and Gardic has to walk up in arena, Thilicore has to walk up in Earthspike. It's just coming a half step or a few seconds way too late, and they're trying to get aggressive again, but I think Gardic might even have to pop another smoke if they want to do anything. Thunder Awaken just get to tiptoe around their opponents who have really no control, and okay, Matthew maybe overstepped, maybe that's a kill. Oh, what a dodge with the Mischief. Man's making him work for it, but they certainly get this.
Yuma finally able to vent some of that frustration with this slow start, getting that kill, but at the end of the day, it's a nice kill, but it's still only on to Matthew, who is not exactly the most valuable kill in the world. But if you're Hokori, you only had 1 kill in the game to that point, so you will take what you can get, but they need to just be able to buy more time. The problem is, you look over at the other side of things, because he's got Echo, he's got Diffusal, he has queued up that all-important Scotty. They're just sort of barreling their way downhill right now, and Hokori are not going to be in a position to contest them for quite some time.
Yeah, and that's where, okay, Hokori, you're 500 gold away from Vitaly having this Aghanim Scepter. Give it over to the Bristle, but again, this is not a kill you want to give up, but you kind of have to, and Pakaz and Sacred are making plays in the bottom lane, and Vitaly almost has to watch here. He might just have to use the arena to try and stay alive, but okay, this is a dance that they're playing here, but Glyph's already used. Oh no, they don't have any damage. Yeah, they need to run.
Man,
but
they get that tethered down. Gardic used the arena, but then runs away afterwards, so Vitaly's really just left to fend for himself, and I don't think he can do this. TP is coming in. Will it be in time? Vitaly going to get taken down, but now Analog's in the fight. Kaz has got to be very careful. He's going to pop the ult and try to fall back to be able to make it away. The problem is, while he was doing that, Sacred was going after Gardic. They will find that kill. Now Yuma, this is very dangerous territory to be in. He does not have a lot to fight with right now. And he might immediately back away, but Matthew doesn't want to let him go, basically throwing his body into the fight. Zip in from the storm. They're going to try and get in onto multiple heroes. Yuma does throw out a nice mana void, but it's just not enough damage. And now they're just getting burned through. Analog dropped low. Will he tick to the Spirit Vessel? No. But it gets dangerously close there. And even in the aftermath of all of that, Thunder Awaken lost nothing and no one.
No, and it feels like Thunder Awaken back to form here. They're just continuously running at their opponents, and you see Yuma doesn't even feel safe. They did see them 5-man smoke after the fact they're just walking away, but there just really isn't enough gas in the tank for Hokori to finish off any of these kills. And, well, you've got Arena in 20. They're going to have the Aghanim Scepter after this large camp, and I think that's where maybe we see a shift. Because Analog, he's going to have another 4,200 gold on his hero. I can only imagine they give the Bristleback the Aghanim Scepter. There's no way they go for anyone else. And he's going to have a BKB on top of that. So this Bristleback is about to have a ridiculous amount of items in a very short time window. But will that be enough for them to actually care about him? Because I think the larger problem is that with everything stacked up on Analog, what happens if you just run away? What do you actually have to keep the fight going? I honestly don't know if Hokori are going to have enough here. I think Thunder Awaken are really going to need to overstep. But here we go. They lose Gardic top, but they're smoking into it anyway because that timing has been hit. Ags is on the bristle. I just hope it's enough for them.
They're going to hit up Matthew first. They now know that the Ags is completed, but I'm not sure if they care. Theolacor going to get hit up here. Not dead yet, though, and the Storm actually gets hit by the Finger of Death. They'll take him down. Dark Mago hits the deck with no buyback, and, well, that's a pretty fantastic start, but start is the operative word here. They are looking for more because they did have to use a buyback and they lost both of their supports. But at this stage, Thunder Awaken, they're not going to really walk into anything further. They lost a big hero in that play, just maybe not quite showing the full respect to Hokori's damage output. They're not looking to make the same mistake twice.
No, and it really wasn't respect from Dark Mago. I think he saved the Orchid, possibly thinking that he could kill the Lion in just the pull, which was a little bit too confident from him, I think. But that's also where they're not done. They're looking for the supports because they saw you leave with this ward placed underneath your tier 1, but Analog needs to find everything here.
Getting into the fight, dishing out the Nasal Duel. Yuma comes in with the Mana Void. They'll take down Matthew. Theolacor, though, should be dropping on the other side as Sacred Cause went for the kill. But now Dark Mago zipping in. They're going to try to isolate the Alp. Yuma cannot afford to fight any longer. He is going to fall back, but it's Analog that they need to be wary of. He's just going to look for his TP home. So, well, they're going to focus on Yuma. They get that kill. Meanwhile, Dark Mago zipped in and actually canceled Analog's TP. So now they've dealt with everything else. Now they can take all of their firepower, bring it directly onto the Bristleback. And Analog, even with the Ags literally shoved down his throat, is not going to be tanky enough to deal with that.
Nope, and Kaz already has one of the ultimate orbs, so that Scotty is coming up very soon here, and that's the problem. What happens when they start to ignore your big hero that you pumped everything into? And I think that's where Thunder Awaken, again, critically find that pecking order. Usually we're talking about a Medusa when we talk about saving your big core for last, but hey, if they just ignore the Bristleback, that's why Analog looks for his exit there, because he knows he can't take the 1v3, and unfortunately, unless everything on Hokori is hitting, namely the Finger, the Earth Spike, the Spears, everything needs to hit, because you have so little lockdown. Unfortunately, they just don't have enough. Maybe they find the Abaddon here, but they're terrified of Kaz, and surely so.
Jumps in for the kill. Does he go any further? He's got to wait out the arena, so looks like he's not going to make that play. But that's the other part you mentioned when the fight started. Analog was into the fight, but you said Analog, he's got to hit everything. He's got to get those Nasal Goose down in that AoE, and unfortunately the real reason why he gets sort of caught out there at the end is because he went after I think it was the Abba that he was trying to track down, but he sort of tunnel visions in onto a singular target while the rest of his team tries to retreat, so you get two split up, and obviously we see the results as they're now looking for another play. Dark Mago's going to zip in. They get the lockdown onto Gardic. They'll finish him off. The Mana Void is there, but look at that. Sacred with the Ags just time lapses his buddy. Dark Mago's going to be just fine. They will continue to push their way forward. Hokori falling back to the base. Look at Pikaz, though. He does not care. He's going to keep on going. Dark Mago's the one to zip in. He gets the Vortex down onto the out because they know they have Theolacor already. And this is just turning into an absolute slaughter, ET.
Oh, it's just an absolute working. They just got way too ahead of themselves in the draft. They should have the tools to deal with this. I think forcing that Mars to be their 5 position might have been the nail in the coffin, because what are Hokori now waiting for? They're really just I don't know, seeking for an overextension from Dark Mago into Mana Void. All of their damage is really coming from Finger and Mana Void at this stage of the game. They just have the tools to deal with the Bristleback. Unfortunately, not even, I want to say, 3 minutes after he got the Ags pickup, but he's still even looking for his BKB, which felt like he was going to have it the same moment he got the Ags, but just losing every fight post that. It just feels like they're getting picked apart right now. There's starting to be less and less hope as Picaz is also very close to finishing up his Scotty here. Just very slim chances now, I think. As Vitali, he's turning around looking for another Ags for a teammate, but what does your Alk provide when he's giving all of his net worth over to heroes that unfortunately don't have the control inherently to keep these team fights going? I really think they just drafted themselves into a corner here.
And they were basically all in on the Ags play for Analog, because you look at the net worth now of any core not named Bristleback. Vitali is straight broke, and Yuma, he's not much better. Take a look, he's behind all the cores on the opposing side. They're going to try for Picaz here, but it's just straight up not a kill that they can get. So Analog really has to carry the team, and it really hasn't come out that way so far, as Picaz is going to get trapped up in the arena. But Panda's here. He's going to be able to hit him up with the shield, taking away a lot of that lockdown and damage, and that's it. Hokori, that's the fight. That's all that they've got.
Yep, they're trading mana. They're burning a decent chunk of it, but as soon as Sacred and Pandabu show up, that's your save, and I guess from the Weaver, pseudo save, because he definitely had to work for it, but okay, this is the smoke.
Right.
Does Illicore have a blink? He doesn't. They need to find something. They need to find a hero really with the Hex to start it all off, but there are wards already placed here. Gardick's going to give away the play, and as soon as that ward goes down, they shift their position, and now I think everybody's too afraid to make this jump here. There is a BKB on the Bristleback at the very least, but this is still very scary. Vitali stuns himself.
They're just not going to be able to catch up to anybody right now. That is... Oh, that's such a shame. And now, well, if you're Thunder Awaken, how do you want to respond? Do they look to force this fight now that Hokori have sort of shown themselves? Do they simply back off and continue to farm? At this rate, they have so many options. We haven't even spoken about Roche so far in this game, but that is also an objective on the map available. So Thunder Awaken really feel like they have their choice of what they want to do now, and Hokori just have to respond to it.
Yeah, and ooh, okay, Dark Mago trying for the solo kill here. Needs a little bit more damage, and I think he has it. Just barely, but they're even playing with fire still, because Dark Mago's gone for these aggressive items early instead, but okay, Hex needs to hit the Earth Spike, doesn't even have it, but they're falling apart right now. Everyone is just getting picked apart first.
Analog is now left completely alone. Dark Mago's going to be able to completely reset as he leaves the fight with the Haze Rune, helps get the kill onto Gardick for the triple, and they're not even going to bother. They'll let Analog go. They don't care about him. They'll now move into the Roche pit, and it's looking like it's going to take a miracle now for Hokori. Something has to go right for them, ET, but it just isn't happening. They've got 5 kills to the 32 of Thunder Awaken, and now we're going to have to kill a Storm Spirit twice, and even if you get him once, he comes back up with full health and mana on a Storm Spirit.
Yeah, and again, I think this is the difference between a team that's gone to a LAN, has played for a very long time, they've been in these situations, they just go for the safer play, and it really is just paying dividends right now. And we all knew that they had deep hero pools, but this doesn't feel like anything that they've been doing differently in the entire tournament. This feels like they're right at home here, and I think that's where Hokori are just a little bit too off their own center right now. I think they put themselves in a really rough spot, and well, they're all scouted out by this Thunder Awaken ward here. They're in a very precarious position. At the same time, 5 heroes are responding to 3 right now, as they're also just farming every single lane. There's just no opening right now that is presenting themselves from Hokori. They need to find it somewhere, but that's where you would say the Hail Mary is the anti-mage, but your anti-mage has 110 last hits 25 minutes into the game looking for a Manta style. That Hail Mary is not working. This is not the matchup they were hoping for.
Yeah, the farm for this AM is just so depressing, really. I don't know. I don't think I've seen an anti-mage that poor outside of maybe some pub matches, but I suppose if you're looking for some sort of silver lining here, ET, every second that Hokori are still in this game is a second where they haven't lost yet, right? There is still some sort of hope. The more time they can buy, the better, but I'm not sure what they're buying time for specifically. It's just this vague sense of something down the line.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's Orchid up the Bristleback. They push onto this tier 2, and I think that's where your Lion has a Blink Dagger. Maybe we find the burst onto one of the Thunder Awakened cores now. They need to catch him with Panda Boo sleeping, though, and I think that's where the problem really is in the initiation here. How many targets can they actually go on to break up the defensive power that Thunder Awaken has? I don't really know, and I do think that there is a doomsday on the horizon here. Once Bakaz has that Silver Edge, both the Bristle and the Anti-Mage's game is more or less over. You don't really get to fight him after that point. He just always wins. And I think that's where, with the Glyph used as well, there's no split play now. You have to come back. You have to fight them. We might see them sack this first bottom racks just because the push still isn't that fast, but they certainly are going to fight over mid. I don't even know if they can win the full fight, though, as we do see them just kind of farm. They're still playing behind. Arena, though,
That's really the worst hero you could hit up, though. Panda just walks off the spear stun, and now Dark Mago, he's trying to deal with the Mars while the rest of the team is pushing forward. Gardic does get taken down. Dark Mago now looking for the second support. Wants the ult core as well. Gardic, however, will buy back, but he's already used the arena, so they don't have quite as much team fight strength here. Dark Mago, though, he really is trying to make use of that Aegis, pushing all the way forward. The time lapse is going to pull him back. That's a nice play, getting multiple heroes up with a stun. That didn't kill anyone. Yuma drops down a Mana Void, and it didn't do anything.
He misclicked. He mana voided the Abaddon, who is full mana, instead of, unfortunately, the Storm Spirit. That would have been maybe a 800 damage nuke. Still not a lot, but now the Ags, I think, everything is just falling apart.
Yeah, Gardic should be taken down a second time here. Vitali is trying to fight in the fountain, and Dark Mago, okay, well, that's one way to use your Aegis. He's going to die on the steps of his opponent's fountain, but should be able to zip himself out. Meanwhile, Analog is trying to hunt for Sacred here, as this has really just devolved from a team fight into a weird series of chase. All the while, the rest of Thunder Awaken were going after the racks, but now if Analog's going to step that far forward, they're going to blow him up. They get the kill. No buyback for the Bristle, and it feels like Hokori are really just running out of gas in the tank. Lion is going to get picked off now as the ult core falls. They'll take Vitali down as well. Buybacks used or unavailable. And Yuma is the last man standing, but he's just sitting here twiddling his thumbs. There's nothing he can do in this scenario.
Except for maybe kill Dark Mago, and he's gonna look for it. He's trying to get bottled up. He needs to go soon, though, but he doesn't even have, I think, the level 3 Mana Void, but they're not calling it because he wants to do this play, but I don't know if there's gonna be enough Ancient left by the time he actually goes for it.
He's just waiting so long here. Just go for it, man. Pull the trigger. Make it happen. Try and get one kill if nothing else, as the attack on the Ancient will stop momentarily, but only because heroes have respawned. And Thunder Awaken want to pad the stats. They're going to be able to take multiple heroes down. The Mana Void doesn't even come out before the Ancient falls. Boy, oh boy, ET. Thunder Awaken, after dropping a match, wanted to sort of prove a point. They come back with back-to-back wins, and, well, when we came out of the draft, I said this was the kind of move for Hokori where you either look like a genius or an idiot, and unfortunately, it kind of feels like the latter right now.
Yeah, really rough game. They were really hell-bent on forcing, I think, this kind of crazy long engagement where maybe they get just several spells off. Really think they would have benefited from possibly shifting that Mars just over to a core position. Just feel like no arena ever hit, or if it did hit, it was just way too late, way too behind at that point. But hey, they tried something. They picked Alk. That's gonna be forever in Dota, I suppose. But just not a good look. I think Yuma as well really hit off his center here, going for a new build, a build that felt like almost a half measure here. It didn't feel like the Slark versus Anti-Mage matchup at all, just because, well, we never got to see him farm a Battle Fury. We never got to see him, I think, even finish a Manta style at the end of that game. It just ran out of damage, got a little bit too clowny on their draft. Kind of very well-deserved loss versus Thunder Awaken, and Thunder Awaken proved you really need to bring your A game versus us. You can't afford to drop the ball and reverse sweep. I mean, hey, welcome to upper bracket. Thunder Awaken are here, and now I think the rest of the teams in the upper bracket sweating a little bit harder now because, well, their record still stands true, and now that they've broken the only team that's beaten them, I think Thunder Awaken are still looking like the favorites.
Yeah, very much back sort of on top if ever they had fallen off in the first place, with the threat of Hokori at least temporarily taken away. So Thunder Awaken, they do manage to get themselves the 2-1 victory. They advance to the upper bracket final. They will await the winner of our next series, as I believe we have Lava versus Infamous will be that matchup. In the meantime, though, I do want to say I think we are attempting to set up an interview here with a Thunder Awaken member. I think we're trying to sort out potentially getting a translator in for the match. So we'll see how that goes. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with an update one way or the other. But for now, congratulations to Thunder Awaken. See if we can get an interview with one of the members of their team before we move on to that next series. So stick around. We'll have that update for you in just a little bit. Okay, there we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We do have our interview ready to go here, as we are going to be speaking with Panda of Thunder Awaken. So, first and foremost, congratulations on the win, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And yeah, sorry for having to get you to wait there, but ET and I got to get ourselves set up on the technical side. But we'll jump right into it. I actually do want to ask first question. Good thing that we have you. A lot was made of the fact that your team lost that group stage series to Hokori. Of course, they played without you, I believe, in that series. Did have to go with that stand-in. So
Yeah.
did you feel I guess pissed maybe coming in here thinking like, okay, my team lost without me. I've got to get in here. We've got to get our revenge.
Not really. I was just making fun of my team because they need me to win. Like, they get 2-0 without me, and they go 14-0 with me.
Yeah, there you go. Proving your worth a little bit. It's like you guys can't win when I'm not there. What's up? But yeah, I guess wow, excuse me, sorry. But I did want to ask you, so obviously we get the new patch in the middle of the event. Didn't really seem to affect you guys that much as you just plowed through everybody. But I did want to mention you guys were playing things like Matthew on the Ember Spirit, Sacred playing the Snapfire, things that a lot of teams that we've been watching, at least in this event, haven't necessarily fully emulated yet. Do you feel like at this point you guys are just ahead of the curve meta-wise, or do you feel this is just you have the players to make these things work where other teams don't?
I think everyone is just trying to figure things out. We don't even know the patch yet. We need to be learning new heroes. We're just playing the old stuff on the new patch.
Sorry. This is you guys playing when you don't know the patch.
Yeah, we don't know the patch yet. We're playing the old things.
Yeah, so
Like,
this nearly unstoppable without knowledge of the patch. I'm terrified to see what you guys do when you feel like you've got it down.
yeah, we are trying a few things out, like the chain we did in the first game.
Mhm.
It didn't work out, but we're gonna keep doing it a few games in the tournament, preparing for DPC.
And well, actually, I'll hold off a little bit. I'll let ET get in a word here at this point because I'm kind of stepping all over him at this stage.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But what do you think really went wrong, I suppose, in the first game? Because for a second there, everybody's scared. Everybody's looking at you guys because, of course, Hokori got the 2-0 minus Pandabu. But then in game one, it felt like they really hit their stride. And then game two, they kind of got broken apart because of the Tiny. And honestly, I'd really like to ask you about that. How do you feel like this Tiny's kind of shifted things up? Because really, a lot of you SA guys, you're still playing the old stuff. You're still looking at those older drafts, but it does feel like that hero specifically has kind of shot itself up to priority list already.
Yeah, it seems like he's kind of broken.
Yeah,
That's all I can
Mhm.
say. Yeah,
feels like an auto win almost if you get it, especially with the Timbersaw band.
yeah, pretty much.
I mean, yeah, simple as that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you as well. But to that same point, even though you guys, like you said, you're still playing kind of on the old patch, it feels like a lot more of those strength heroes are getting valued. And of course, for Zoomers, they've been the one to experiment the most in this tournament. But when it comes especially to heroes like the Abaddon or heroes like the Chen, do you think we're seeing that shift to more durable heroes and kind of as a mainstay here? Because Of course, Bracer, I think it's still pretty good, but it's not as broken as it was before. But it just feels like the Tinies, the Marses, the CKs, even Wraith King from the previous patch is still very strong. Do you think we're going to see those strength heroes really become the new meta, I guess, kind of even more so than it was previously? Because it feels like Agi carries especially are still kind of struggling right now.
Yeah, I don't know what's that, but they seem pretty strong right now. It's like take long fights or just I don't know. It's pretty hard to get nuked down as a strong hero right now. Just
Mm-hmm.
take the longer fights and you win.
Yeah, I mean, easy game plan, right? Just don't lose and then win.
Just don't die.
Yeah. And I mean, that's good for me, but it's been very nice hearing from you, especially seeing what you guys are able to do now. Because I mean, now you've lost in at least once in playoffs already, but it'll be interesting to see if you don't drop any more games now that Panda Boo is back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're gonna pick Cheng again, so
Yeah.
we're not losing more games.
Okay. Better odds without the Chen. No, that's good.
But yeah, Panda, appreciate you coming and having a word with us. Thank you very much. Congratulations on your win again, and we're gonna let you go now. Celebrate with your boys.
Okay, thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you. And of course, yeah, that does break our cameras here. So let's swap that back over. Nothing to see here. Move along. But yeah, always nice to sort of get that insight. And at this point, Thunder Awaken really have to feel like maybe the monkey's off their back, taking down the only team that was able to hand them any losses to this point. So very much the team to beat. They will now get to sit back and wait and see who their opponent will be, because we are moving along to that second best of 3 here in the upper bracket. Lava versus Infamous. At this point, we're really running it down. We've only got a couple of minutes before we should be getting that one underway. So we'll see which of those two squads will rise up to face Thunder Awaken and Panda the upper bracket final. So we'll step away for just a moment and be back for the start of that game 1.